under 157.003A, number 1 is basically just duplicating the definition that we have above.
Right.
And so,
I lost where you are. Could you help me?
so under the sign permits, section on 13 to 20, so near the top, it's
Okay.
the second paragraph. It's just right after the definitions end.
Okay.
And applicability, the number 1 item,
Mhm.
that whole section in there is duplicating the definition that we just did above.
Yeah.
So we're repeating ourselves. And I think that gets to be an issue when it gets changed again, then
Oh, I
it
see.
might get changed in one place and not in the other.
Let's just verify that we are actually saying the same thing.
That's that 157.003
Yeah.
first section?
Yeah.
Okay, so that should,
A.
So
And it's really A1.
And one, yep.
You know, A
Well-
is fine, it just doesn't need the 1 or the 2, I think, is what, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, it is just a
I think,
restatement.
I think maybe we restate it, we eliminate 1 and 2, and then we say applicability, all permanent
Right,
building and freestanding signs.
yeah. I mean, those are the only 2, right? That all these signs fall under, I'm just trying to,
For permanent signs, That would require a permit.
how about roof? Is that a building sign? I can't, I gotta go look at building
I
sign.
think maybe we have prohibited that, and that's why it's not in that list.
Oh, no, it says it includes awning, canopy, marquee, projecting, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Yeah. I think we did that somewhere else, too. I noticed a restatement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that mean under B, application? No, never mind. I retract my almost question.
So attractive. Detracted. Which is the one you said that you mentioned that was the major one change?
Oh, it was regarding the window,
Oh, the sign, yes, thank you. I couldn't remember what it was. So, yep, okay.
or actually wall sign. The wall sign went from 15% to a third of the building face.
Yeah. Wasn't it 25% and we moved it up to a third?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have something on 14 unless anybody else has something on 13.
Go to the 13.
On 14, under item D, setbacks, we have, the first bullet says all monument and freestanding signs shall be set back a minimum of 10 feet. And then that bullet 2 says all freestanding signs, unless specifically noted otherwise, shall maintain a 10-foot setback, blah, blah. And there's a duplication of the 10 feet, but I'm wondering if bullet 2 applies to monument and freestanding. When it talks about the city may require something in addition to that.
A monument sign is defined as a freestanding sign.
I know it is, but, I know. But we're kind of I'm not exactly sure why we're distinguishing between the two, and then monument and freestanding in one, and then all freestanding in the
So,
other.
Remind me if this freestanding and monument rule applies to political signs and the like.
Well, freestanding, Can-
What
yeah.
I'm asking is it our intent to regulate all signs so that they're set back 10 feet?
well, from what I see here, yes.
Okay.
Because the first bullet says that.
So what we should have would be a point that says all freestanding signs shall be set back a minimum of 10 feet from the property line, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And
Right.
and then skip that first line of number 2 and then go and then keep the city.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all you need is number 2.
Right.
Oh, okay, so
Need
just
number
delete
one.
number 1.
Correct, you don't need number 1.
But number 1 has that extra 5 feet from any parking area.
But is a,
But you could add that, actually, you could add that to number 2.
Okay, so basically combine 1 and,
Although number 2 says from from a parking area driveway, that's okay.
so a freestanding sign is a more generic definition than a monument sign.
correct.
A monument sign is a freestanding sign, so you could take the reference to monument signs out
Right,
of this entirely.
right.
Yep.
I didn't know if we were trying to do something specific with monument, but then it wouldn't have made sense to say all monument and freestanding. So if we do number 2 and add the minimum of 5 feet from any parking area or driveway,
After the lot lines?
You could make 1 and 2 into a single line item by adding that to item 2, and then item 2 is just the only paragraph. Is that
I think,
what you're thinking?
run that by me again.
So.
Yeah.
Take the, and a minimum of 5 feet from any parking area or driveway portion of item 1, put it in at the end of
Yes.
the first sentence of item 2, and then
Right.
item 1 goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, just combine it into one statement.
I was restating what you were saying to
Right.
make sure that I understood.
Right.
Was there the reason for the monument and freestanding, because monument is usually a solid, more than a freestanding?
no, I think
But it's described as a freestanding sign.
Right.
in its definition.
Right.
So,
this is just one of those things that as we progressed through the
Right.
creation, this,
As it gets put together
Yeah.
and this goes here and that goes there, you start to see where, oh, we might not need that.
yep, so this is good. That's a good catch.
On that same page, under F, materials and construction, could we combine 3 and 5?
My 5 is crossed out.
Five's gone.
the new 5.
The new 5,
Oh, sorry.
the new 5, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
look at that flying around. Okay.
They both deal with meeting electrical standards, as far as I can tell.
They do,
That sounds like a good
yeah.
plan, yep.
I mean, the wording is fine. I think it could just be under one bullet, that's all. And is G external lighting only? Does that only deal with external?
I don't think it has to. Lighted signs shall be no closer than 20 feet. I mean, if you've got an internally lit sign that just happens to be really bright, you might not want it.
No, but I'm reading the first one. The source of the light must be directed at the sign.
Well, that one I would say yes.
And then the,
The number 2 could apply to either, I would think.
okay. Okay, I was just trying to confirm in my mind.
But should we clarify number 1?
Agreed.
Okay, so source of externally. Okay.
Yeah, an external source of light. How's that?
Okay.
And the very last thing, the maintenance, the third bullet, is an option for somebody not to repair their sign? I mean, it says, the sign shall be taken down and removed. I thought, well, do they have an option of repairing it? Assuming it can be repaired.
Wait, are we looking at number 3?
I'm looking at 3.
Taken down or removed by, yes, so give them the option to repair.
Okay, good.
Maybe repaired is first, repaired.
Yeah,
comma,
yeah.
Taken down. You could probably remove the taken down words and just say removed. So repaired or removed
Yeah, or
by owner.
has to be there.
I think that covers it.
Hard to remove it without taking it down.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
I think taken down and removed is being redundant.
This is just sort of a general thing that I think I've noticed just twice so far, but I think maybe it's just a quick find and replace sort of thing, but it looks like we use we use property line in some areas and lot line in other areas, and probably just better to say property line, I would think, rather than lot line.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to be consistent on that.
Yeah.
I think a lot line is probably, it takes up less space, so,
Okay.
or property line's okay
People
too.
have property.
Property line's a little bit more of a proper term, I think, than a lot line, but I would say.
Actually, I'm trying to think if we define lot, I know we define lot line in the code, I don't know if we define property line. But it doesn't matter, I think people are more used to property line when they're thinking about their residence.
You know, I learned in real estate by my wife, you buy the land and what's on it is yours.
Yeah.
So, really, you're buying just land.
Yeah.
Cameron, did you have anything?
Yes, sir.
I apologize that I have not studied this. I did read through it the other day, but I have not studied it. Is there anything in the ordinance that would preclude internally lit signs or neon signs?
Oh,
There used to be, but we have now opened it up so you can have internally illuminated signs.
Okay, and also externally, but neon signs would be allowed as well, right? Even though they're not
Yep.
terribly common, but people do find them, historical signs and things like that.
The neon, I believe the neon is a window type, is that right? Or am I remembering that wrong?
I think we didn't differentiate the type of the type of lighting,
Okay.
internal. That's because we don't know what's going to come in the future.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
It's not coming up. Okay.
And now I said something to Brandy, because when I was looking through this, I will admit, when I was looking at page 15 in the chart, particularly the second one, the C one, I managed to confuse myself.
Oh.
So I had to kind of lay it out by both permanent and non-permanent as far as the sizes, just to clarify for myself. And we discussed this, I know, because it says, this C says the dimension is the maximum aggregate square footage of all permanent sign faces. But we don't allow permanent signs in single-family or two-family land uses. So that still was in the back of my mind, that can be very confusing to someone who's reading this. And I thought maybe if we did have a two-part thing, one is the permanent, and then in chart C, and then the second is the temporary. And what that tends to show then is, like for the MU1, for example, you can add the two. You can have 32 feet in permanent and 32 square feet in temporary.
Non-permanent.
Can I see if
Correct? Is that what we had decided and discussed? That's what I was clarifying in my mind.
I don't know if I have the answer to your question, because I was kind of going down my own rabbit hole as you were talking, but maybe you can tell me if I'm understanding you correctly. So we would have two tables. The first would say permanent sign awning. Under single family, it would say 0 square feet, because we're talking about how much area you can have.
Permanent, yes.
Permanent.
Yeah.
And then there would be another one.
Well, there's just another section, kind of
Another
like what you did up in B, where you have permanent at the top and then you have non-permanent. It's just the,
Oh, I was confused. I thought you just told me to change B. So we're talking C?
oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm talking C. Maybe I did misspeak.
I'm
I'm talking C.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, so C needs to just be modified to look like B. That seems easy.
As far as the two sections, yes. Only because it references, it specifically says the aggregate square footage of all permanent sign faces. I mean, you could get rid of the word permanent, but it still it confused me when I looked at it. Because, as an example, in the MU1, we have a single family can have 32 square feet. Well, on the chart above, single family gets 0. So all in permanent. So it's like the two don't link up for me in all of the categories.
We don't have permanent defined in our definition.
We did at one point,
But we
right?
don't now. Or at least on the
Oh,
draft.
yeah, we define non-permanent.
Well, we don't define permanent, but we do say that freestanding and building signs are permanent.
Right.
So we could do a reference, a permanent equals, if we want to do that. So under permanent sign, we would say C, building or freestanding.
Can I suggest a change to the formatting of the table in item C? To parallel the formatting of the table above it, where we list single-family, two-family, multifamily, and non-residential in columns, and do the same thing with the table below, since it's the same 4 items, but then we've flipped it over to be rows rather than columns. So if you format both the tables similarly,
Well,
then
she's,
the single-family and the two-family lines up.
but she's doing it by district. And I think that's
Understood.
what she's
But then
trying
the
to
rows,
identify.
The districts would be in rows, rather than that. So you're making parallel structure with the two tables, so that the single-family column is in the same place on both
Along the top, is
tables.
what you're saying?
It's along the top, right, and the zoning districts ends up being the row.
Yeah. Well, it might make it easier,
I think it's just easier to read.
but I still think the bigger thing for me is the permanent versus non-permanent, to
Yes.
really make it quite clear that a single-family use is 0 permanent and 32 square feet non-permanent.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what zoning district it's in. It's still a single-family use. Is that making sense, Brandy?
Sort of. I'm trying to draw it out. So let's say, what do we do for multifamily, where we have awnings allowed?
I know, but multifamily, again, you're trying to do it by district here. And single-family is not a permitted use. Or it doesn't even matter if it's there. Single-family uses is not multifamily.
I don't know that we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, I know. I think
Table 1, the purpose is to say you can have these kinds of permanent signs if you are a multifamily or a non-residential use. And then the purpose of C is to say how much, regardless of use, you can have in each district.
well, it says permanent sign faces. And I think when we talked,
Okay, so you're saying, no, let me see, now I'm confused.
let me say, when we talked, I think we discussed, and somebody can correct me if I misunderstood this, but when we talked about like the permanent signs for places that could have them, they could have X square feet. And then the amount they could have in non-permanent was essentially the same thing. I mean, because we weren't going to say you can only have a permanent sign, you can't have any non-permanent. So there has to be additional for them. So that's where it starts to get tricky when you reference that table, because under the non-permanent, where does it say that?
Bottom non-permanent is allowed on every single land use.
It says, for non-permanent signs, it says the maximum aggregate area of non-permanent signs shall not exceed the area standards per 157.005C,
Where do you see that?
page 18 of 20. 157.008.
Okay, non-permanent
E4.
signs.
So we're referring back to the same table, and we're talking about non-permanent signs.
Okay, and then tell me where it says what the aggregate is with the max.
On page 18?
Yep, regarding.
It's under item bullet B3.
Got it. Shall not exceed.
Refers to the
Okay,
same
so
table.
let me see if I understand now. So you're saying that you can have the same amount of permanent and non-permanent signs?
Correct.
Okay, that was a long walk, sorry about that. I
And-
think I finally caught up, though.
And I'm okay, I'm okay with that. I just don't think that this chart necessarily makes it as clear as it could.
Well, I would agree now that we've had this discussion,
Okay.
so.
I
understand
actually
what you
put
mean.
together a little chart in my mind to try to figure out, what the heck is that
Did you
saying?
do it for me?
That,
I was thinking about parallel structure.
Yeah, okay.
If that makes sense.
It does, it's perfect.
You're just taking this one and flipping it.
Mm-hmm.
90.
Now
And I
that I
think
know
the
that we're
key
talking
is-
about apples and apples instead of
Right.
having to combine the 32 and
Right.
divide it between the two different
Well,
types.
and when you're talking about Table B, it's talking about the land use, not the district.
Right.
Table C is talking about the district, or, excuse me, yeah, the district that a land use might be in. But we don't allow every land use in every
Correct.
district.
Yep,
Okay,
I understand where you're going now.
perfect. I did send you something, and it was kind of a little a sample
You did.
of, this is what I think this is telling me. Because that, to me, is like, is this correct, the way I'm interpreting this chart? And I had to spend too long thinking about it.
There's, if we're done with that.
Yep.
Issue, on table, under C, for multifamily, it seems like there's some inconsistency between R1 and R2, where we've got 60 square feet for R1 and 32 square feet for R2.
Okay, let me catch up to you.
Seems like they ought to both be 32, or they both ought to be 60.
R1 doesn't allow multifamily. It should, so all of that 32 is in non-permanent.
Two-family houses?
No,
or
not the way it's defined in this, because we do define it in this section, because I looked at that.
Okay, then shouldn't that be not applicable?
Well, under permanent, yes, but 32 square feet in non-permanent, they do get to have.
Oh, I see.
But it should be 32 and 32 in that case.
Not for the R1, no. It's 0 for permanent, for
Understood.
multifamily.
Understood.
Yeah,
but-
there isn't 0 for multifamily.
But, understood, but if we're talking about the non-permanent signs, it should be the same. What, the R1 should not be bigger than the R2 limit.
Well, the difference is I know, that's why I was trying to get to, all right, there is an aggregate number at some point in time, and without being able to see that, it's hard to know where these came from. But
These numbers,
the R2, to me, what's shown here, the 32, appears to be showing the non-permanent piece and doesn't show anything for permanent, even though I think multifamily is now allowed in R2. Townhomes as multifamily. Yeah.
Would we even need, shouldn't that be not allowed then? If we don't allow multifamily in R1, what would be the purpose of even giving them a square footage that they're allowed? If-
They're allowed non-permanent square footage.
But there wouldn't be a multifamily in R1.
No, there wouldn't be multifamily.
Right.
Right.
So
That box should be.
should be just not applicable.
Oh, you mean up here on the second one? But that's what I'm getting at.
It could be a non-conforming.
This was trying to combine both the non-permanent and permanent, and I don't think it works well because of that confusion of, you can't even have that use in that district.
Right.
They don't get anything for this piece.
But there could be a possible situation where you might have a multifamily that happened to be an old one that got,
But that doesn't mean,
It's non-conforming.
yeah, it's just non-conforming. You
Right.
can't have a new one, or they can't expand it. I mean, you don't want to leave the impression you can go beyond
So this
that.
table C then really is
All I'm saying is, I think,
not mixing.
I would recommend redoing C to do the permanent. This is what is allowed, permanent. And below that, this is what's non-permanent. And then we can verify, yep, that's what we're looking for, as far as the footages, the square footages.
so do you all want to take a look at what's on the screen? And aside from the flipping so that it matches table B, that this is what we mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. We'll consider it done.
Well, I'm just, hopefully the footages are what we're looking for. Is that the one I sent you?
It is. Mhm.
Okay, well, then let's verify the footages, because I might have,
Verify that they match what was in
like I
the-
say, I did confuse myself when I was looking at these two. But I think I've got it.
Yeah, multifamily, NA, 32.
I'd have
And
to
I
look at
did
them side
change
by
the
side.
R2 to 60 for non-res. I think did I make it match? No, I left it at the 32 because I was unclear in my, there must have been some place we discussed that. I mean, the only other potential thing, oh, let me go back. Let me go back to that, where we do the non-permanent thing. Yeah, yeah. That fits then for what we say about, here's how much you can have in permanent, here's how much you can have in non-permanent. Sorry about that, but I was confused.
I mean,
Oh, you've already flipped it. Mm-hmm. Now I'm confused. So is this taking place of B and C? So we just have one table there?
No, it's just C.
C1, C2, yeah, pretty much,
It's just C.
yeah.
B, I was fine with.
B's fine.
B, I think reflects what,
Oh, okay. Okay.
C is that whole thing and the.
yeah. It's when we got into the actual zoning districts that it started to get a little trickier.
Okay. Got it. So we'll use the lanes model, but flip the uses to be the columns and have the districts on as the rows. Okay. Let's carry on. Any other comments?
Moving on to the next paragraph, 157.006 on that same page. You describe, on A awning sign, you describe one awning sign per building facade. Under B canopy sign, one canopy sign per side of structure. Is there a reason that building facade and side of structure is intentionally different?
Sorry.
You upset her.
I'm patient, I can
I
wait.
think that came from sort of what she
Gas
crossed
station.
out.
We had that discussion at the last meeting, yeah.
I was just thinking parallel structure of language makes sense, but maybe. Also, an awning and a canopy are interchangeable depending on who you're talking to.
Sure.
So I was thinking, oh, we really don't need both, but we really do need both, I think. Because people define those things differently.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Did you swallow wrong?
No, I just have a little bit of a cough,
Oh,
and I'm having one of those fits
I
that you
hate when that
just
happens.
hope never happens in public. Okay.
Well, we'll just ask really, really long questions while you recover.
Okay, I think I understood that, so let me go back and
I
make
think he's
sure.
okay now with it too, right?
It's just, I think that the building, it's either building facade or it's per side of structure. It's one or the other for both paragraphs, in
Oh,
my
okay.
mind. It's just to make it parallel structure of
Okay.
language.
I think we picked structure because the canopy looks different. Yeah.
Got it.
If you have an octagon-shaped building, you could have 8 signs.
As long as you don't exceed however many hundreds of feet you get.
Not a circular building.
You gonna put one up for us so we can just
Thinking,
see
you
how
know,
many?
Wouldn't, it couldn't be all that big, though.
let's not talk about round.
That's right.
Then we'll negotiate.
I'll go to 16, and this gets,
Take a break for a moment.
You go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
we'll pause.
Was there,
Yeah.
I'm going to raise another question. And again, I apologize for not coming in having all this read, but I'm just thinking, is there anything in the sign ordinance that talks about the brightness of the signs? I know that that was something that I've seen in some cities where they forgot to put that in.
I don't remember where we do
People come in
that.
with these electronic signs that are so bright they can be distracting in traffic.
We're coming to the electronic signs is the next section.
Okay. My apologies for
No. Appreciate it. Pretty soon.
I saw the message center's paragraph that says only permitted on freestanding signs. Does that mean we don't allow them on the face of a building? In other words, you can't mount it on the wall?
Yeah, that's, I actually was thinking about that, but we haven't gotten there yet, so.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's reason that we don't want them on a building face.
Sorry about that.
Well, yeah, there probably are reasons, but, oh, if I can jump to 16, well, the EMCs. The first thing is under 4A, at the top of that page. I would just, for consistency, if we could change the word images to images and messages. Just so somebody thinks it's not just pictures.
Okay.
Go down the freeway now, I count off how many seconds the sign.
Some of them are really quick, aren't they? But, who's that in there? Is this where we said they can only be a monument sign or freestanding sign? Where did it say that?
That was in an earlier draft.
Oh, it's on C, same section, C,
C1A.
right, 1A.
C1A. Oh,
Patrick just wondered why we wouldn't want them allowed like as a building sign or
A wall.
even a pylon.
Well, pylon is a freestanding sign.
yeah, I had
Yeah.
originally had it restricted to only be monument, but then we opened it up to be freestanding, so we could open it up to be any,
I don't have a problem necessarily with the building sign.
Is there any, I'm just trying to think, is there any reason we don't want to allow it?
They're not always the most visible because you really do have to be looking at them.
That's more of a merchant's choice.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Choice.
Yeah. So I think,
I don't think, my opinion would be we don't want them on a building, because I think it's detracts from the, facade of the building and can be,
You want the Vegas Strip out there, is what you're saying?
well, I think it's better to have them detached from the building. If we're going to allow them at all, they should be away and, because I think having them on a building could, if every building's doing that,
Thank you.
It would be a little bit too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does start to feel a little like Times Square or something.
If a lot of people would, yeah, I don't.
I don't have a problem leaving it as written, but I wanted.
Well, maybe if we start getting a lot of requests for that,
Yeah.
that would be the time to consider changing.
It's fine to leave it the way it is.
Have we ever had a request? Probably not. I mean, inside a building, you can do it, but,
Yeah, we have a quaint downtown, we'll just leave that in for later.
yeah.
Who wants to do that? Leave it the way it is.
Got it.
That's all I had on that. I think.
Is on page 15, right below that, one electronic message center sign may be allowed per street frontage not to exceed 2 EMCs per site. Is that intended to address a two-sided?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think we talked about something like Richardson School or something like that. Don't want to go more than 2. Boy, I wish I had a lozenge or something. Anybody have a lozenge they can give poor Brandy? Do we have any up here? Does the council stash any stuff up here?
it's candy.
I'm done too, huh?
You interested? No? I have a mint. Okay, that's the only thing we have.
Well, the next time I have anything is on page 17.
So
I don't know if anybody has something before that.
my,
One is a question, the other is a comment. Under roof signs,
must be on the wrong one.
8, item H. 2, the new 2. Shall not exceed 3 feet above the ridge line or parapet. I just have a question. Does anybody know if Loves meet that standard? I'm not good at visualizing heights, I will be honest with you. Pardon me? They're saying pretty tall. Well, that's what I thought. Does it meet that 3 feet? I mean, I don't want to create a standard that then we have a non-conforming sign that is perfectly good.
I think it's gonna be popping up here in a second, maybe, if it gets up high enough.
Let's see if this is a new enough picture.
I think the planning commission needs to invest in a drone, so we can just sit here and fly around and,
I was thinking field trip.
there you go. Yeah, beautiful night for ice cream.
That'd be a good
Let's do it.
workshop.
I don't think it's open right now. I looked.
That's more than 3 feet.
Yeah, that's what I thought, just eyeballing it. So what's
Let's see, what was the question?
we have to, I don't want to create that as a non-conforming sign. That doesn't make any sense, because I think the sign is great,
Yeah,
and it just fits.
it does.
All right, so how tall do you think the building
Yeah.
is? 12 feet?
Yeah, building's probably 12.
Yeah,
So maybe a 6-foot limitation or 7 foot?
6 is probably better.
Maybe you could put it in some sort of proportion to the height
Yeah.
of the building or something.
Oh, that's a
like
good,
that.
that's a good idea. Although, if you've got a really tall building,
yeah,
If you have a 3-story building, you don't want
Right.
50% of the height to
right.
be a
I mean, I don't have a problem going with 6. I don't think it's more than that.
And with a tall building, I don't know, taller building, I don't think we want to
Right.
exceed our
Right,
maximum height
yeah.
anyway.
You could write it as, X number of feet in proportion to the building to a maximum of.
maximum of,
Maybe
yeah,
that's getting, maybe I'm trying to split hairs too much.
yeah.
I mean, I'm personally okay with 6 feet rather than getting into too much math.
I think that's fine, 6 feet and then.
That's a good size sign,
That's a good start.
a good height, because we don't, address the width, so.
yeah, I would think administratively too, it would make it easier on the applicant because usually they're not giving you the building dimensions.
Yeah, yeah,
And
Right.
staff would be looking at
right, okay.
Google and doing.
Good. And then under 157.007C2, this is just a wording comment. It says, a master signage plan shall contain the following information, rather than containing. That's a requirement. A master signage plan
Okay.
shall contain the following. Just replaces the word containing.
Shall.
Or must contain, however you want to say it.
That's good.
Any more on 17?
I got stuff on 17, sorry, but I'm hoping this is our last version, and then we're done. Under 157.008, B4, when it references the Minnesota statute, the Minnesota statute allows all commercial signs of any size and number. It's important to include that "and" number.
Well, any size may be posted
In any number. Yeah, in any number.
It's there, that's exactly the language.
Oh, it's at the end, okay. You put it after that, okay. I guess I was reading the
Yeah.
beginning of it and thought, wait a minute, it's size and number. Okay, never mind.
It's there.
Then the only other thing on there was C2BC. So a banner sign
Sunk my battleship.
supported by posts or stakes, should that also have the 10-foot setback? Which we usually have the 10-foot setback in here for some signs, for others not.
Yeah.
Like we have a feather sign, we have the flag sign.
So the 10-foot setback was for freestanding signs only?
Yeah, well, and this is, posts or stakes, and I thought, well,
There are a lot of non-permanent signs that would never even come close to meeting any setback,
yeah, I know. But,
floating around all over the place, every day. The question is, should the non-permanent signs have the same rules about setback?
well, if not, why not?
It's not gonna be enforced.
The way we are doing non-permanent signs, my question would be, why wouldn't they have the same? Because you can have them up there for months. So if that's okay, why not allow a permanent
But
sign?
that would mean that the person putting out their real estate open house sign for the weekend is gonna set back 10 feet from the property line?
Well, all I'm saying is that's
I'm
that's
just saying
the
it's
standard we
meaningless to
have.
even offer to put that out there if we're going to try and actually enforce it, because then those signs are meaningless to have. So it's,
I hear you. I'm
It's-
just saying,
Well, we also have the issue of the zero lot line in the downtown area.
right. But that's slightly different because that's mainly commercial.
yeah.
If you're talking about the non-residential aspect. I mean, I think with some of them,
Right now, the neighbor garage sale signs are everybody right next to the corner going.
yeah.
Right.
And I guess, it kind of depends on, it's the whole, to me, it's more the front yard piece, which is getting into the right-of-way piece. So, I don't have a problem having it, but bearing in mind, I think that really we do this based upon a complaint basis, so I don't think there are probably very often many complaints. But the one thing the setback does, even in an election year, you can regulate where the sign goes in a yard. We can still regulate that. We can't regulate the size or the number of non-permanent, but we can regulate where they go. So you don't have a right-of-way lined with signs of any size, because there's no limit on the size of those things. So I don't have a problem leaving it myself.
So where did we land?
There's the one
We're
benefit,
still landing.
Okay.
yeah. Something to think about, because we still, we're still going to have one more take on this, probably. I don't know if it'll be
So the 10 feet you would like to keep.
I would, yeah,
Okay.
I would. I mean, we've said all freestanding signs have a 10 feet. I mean, I'm just saying, we repeat it for some here, even though we probably don't need to, and I just, as I was reading it, I thought, well, we probably should include it for that one, like we do for the feather sign and
And
blah, blah, blah,
there's no limit to size of this, I'm trying to remember. now.
during an election
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
But
I'm talking about just regular signs we put up there, what size?
that's your 32 square feet or 60, whatever it
yeah.
is in that
That could
chart.
be a pretty one big, huge sign.
It could be a big sign,
That
yeah.
could block an intersection and a car could go.
Yeah.
But then you're talking about a safety issue, and that's enforceable. If it's a safety or traffic visibility issue or something.
But that's also
an
why
entirely
you
different
do
thing.
the, it's also why you set the setbacks, so you don't end up with that. Ideally, people, for the most part,
Is that like a covering your?
Are going
yourself As a city, having it to 10 feet back?
again, I think it's more, most people, if they know it exists, they will abide by it. So you just minimize how much something might proliferate. So I don't have a mind keeping it. If it turns into a problem,
Yep.
then we take it out, or we decide what we want to do about it.
It feels like signs that are very short-lived, the garage sale sign that somebody plops down in the corner, or the real estate sign for the open house.
They don't
Those kinds
last.
of things are very short-lived.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I wouldn't care about a setback. On the other hand, if it's a sign that's going to be up for 6 months,
Right.
and it's somebody making a statement to the world,
Yeah.
and they want to never take it down, then I care about the setback.
Yeah, and I'm saying,
Maybe the way to handle that might be to say, and up to 2 square feet of the 32 feet that are allowed can be within the right of way.
or,
That way you can allow for real estate signs, garage sale signs.
Yeah.
or small, really small sign, those tend to be those kind of things where you just stick something in the ground and it's just there for a very short period of time if it's like less than 6 square feet.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm saying 2
with the
square feet.
exception of or 2.
Yeah.
You know, with the exception of,
4
or signs,
square
you
feet
know,
is about 2
more.
by 2, and that would be about the max that you.
Yeah,
would
yeah,
have.
those usually aren't real
They're-
large.
Yeah, they're normally quite a bit smaller, and maybe there's an exception for
Well,
that small.
But we're talking specifically about banner signs here is what brought it up. And there are some others that, not all of the, let me look at them. Feather signs.
And it gets ridiculous with their ordinances, so.
Yeah.
try not to. Try to-
Well, I mean, my take is if you want to change it, that's okay. I just kind of prefer leaving it at 10 for now and see if some issues arise with it. Because it's no different than what we have now as far as the setback.
Well, I think we've got the enforcement issue,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. But I
Which
don't
we're
think
not
it's really an
realistically-
issue.
I do.
dealing with.
I don't know how many
You like it or don't like
complaints do you get about signs?
From an enforcement
Yeah,
perspective, it's difficult.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult from an enforcement perspective. I mean, we do have new 2 compliance officers, but I hesitate to over-regulate and then amend. I rather, have something happen off the cuff maybe once and then amend it. That's just,
If we were going to not
Ideal
do the
policy.
10 feet, I would want it to be for small signs, that you are, and then you might even get into, those need to have a time frame. But, or maybe not, because some, even really small signs are fine, but they usually aren't in the, close to the street. It's, people put the ones close to the street where they're, have a yard sale, or they're like the realtors.
My wife just had her.
Yeah.
A small one, but yeah.
Yeah, although the at least around in my neighborhood, they do put them up in the yard. The signs.
There could be a guide on a corner, exactly, home for sale this way type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Those are truly occasional, very short-term signs. And I mean, if we wanted to add some for short-term, small signs that would be exempt from
Yeah.
the setback,
I think that would be a good.
I think that would be an okay way.
How do you keep track of that?
How about we go back to the beginning to setbacks and then change it so that it says all permanent freestanding signs shall be set back 10 feet. So that captures everything that's permanent. And then when you go down to the non-permanent signs,
General regulations,
yeah.
location.
Well,
Under
and
that.
I don't even know if we need it there because some of them, like the A-frame, you wouldn't want to give them a setback requirement because you might.
Yeah,
have
they're
them on
not,
the sidewalk.
yeah.
Correct.
And then others of these already have so the feather sign, the flag sign has it in
Maybe
there.
we say 6 square feet. Does that seem too big for the exception? Because that's what a sandwich board sign probably would look like.
I'm suggesting that you skip the exception and just put wherever you want whichever signs you want to have a setback.
Right,
Oh, I see.
yeah, on the non-permanent,
Yeah,
yeah,
which might be all of them except for the A-frame.
right.
I don't know.
Or you want to have,
Although the exception kind of does get to the point of if you've got a tiny sign, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the general regulations on 157.008 under B1A, I mean, it just says, no non-permanent sign may be placed in the right-of-way.
So what if we added a regulation within B that said there is a setback for anything that's above X square feet,
Well,
unless it's an A-frame?
well, we have exceptions here for banners and bus, bench, and shelter signs, where it refers to 2 and 3 where there are, except for 3 says you can put it in the right-of-way, and 2 says they can go over. But I'm wondering if that would be the place. Let me look here. I have to go to the next page and look at what else we have.
We get into problems if we allow, say it's 4 square feet or 6 square feet or whatever, if we allow a certain amount within city right of way, but then say come along, there's a problem somewhere down the line where somebody complains about it or it becomes a traffic hazard. Since we've allowed that in our code, would we run into problems if we want to decide to turn around and say, no, you can't have this sign here, it's a traffic hazard? But they can point to our code and say, you allow up to 6 feet within city right of way. Are we
don't-
making ourselves a problem by doing this?
Safety is always the priority.
I think
If it's a traffic hazard, whether you allow it or not,
Would
if it's
still-
a safety hazard,
Okay.
it can be pulled.
They would still have this ability to,
Well, it's,
That's my understanding.
I was thinking that the setback issue was related to the property line setback, so not within the right-of-way at all.
Right.
okay.
So I think we already say no signs allowed in the
In
right-of-way,
the right-of-way, exactly.
regardless of what kind of sign it is.
Yeah.
There's language somewhere, and I can't remember where it is, about safety, traffic safety and other things.
Yeah,
that
we can require a greater.
We can require more enforcement or greater regulation if there's a safety
Yeah.
concern.
So all I'm getting at here is the banner sign and the bus bench or shelter sign. Those are the exceptions, and they may be in the right-of-way, is what this is saying. Am I correct? Page 18.
Banner and bus, bench and shelter, yes.
Yes.
Because a banner could potentially be over the street.
Yes, but it also could be, again, when we do the banner one, if you look at C, we're saying it can be supported by posts or stakes as well. So that assumes it's not over the street, it's in the ground. So it can be put in the right-of-way, is what I'm asking.
I think you're correct with how it's written. So if we wanted to,
And,
so we could
that,
say
that's,
banners, so the exception would be banners that are hung over the street.
that's what I'm wondering if this is saying.
Well, that's what the intent is, I believe.
Okay, okay.
I'm not entirely sure what you're attaching a banner to that's going over the street.
Lamppoles.
I think we looked into that, and that's probably not what's going to happen. We'll probably move it to the fire station.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's been done.
It has been done. We talked to Brian Frandl, the electric director, and he said he has worked in another city, I don't know if it was multiple cities, but they did have really strong winds that actually tore the street light right out.
Oh, boy.
So
Okay.
for that reason, we're
So,
not gonna
so
take
A,
that chance.
So if we have, I guess my basic question is, if we have a ground-mounted banner, sign, do we want it in the right-of-way?
no,
You said that.
I said that.
I agree, we don't allow signs. I don't know why we'd make an exception for a ground-mounted one. Now, the 10-foot setback might allow a portion of it, because some setbacks are greater than 10 feet. But we've used the 10 feet pretty consistently for most items that, are put on somebody's property, whether it's a car or
Here's the other thing that we
other
talked
things.
about- The other thing we talked about a couple of months ago, I think, was making the regulation perhaps be to a curb rather than to a property line, because property lines are normally not at the curb.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
they're
think the
usually
average,
15,
the
but we
average
can. Yeah.
homeowner who's not paying attention to their property line doesn't even pay attention to the fact that it's not
Yeah.
at the curb.
I mean, the vision triangle uses 10 feet, 10 feet, which it's horrible calculation, but we did change the code for parking to 10 feet from the street or the curb, and I don't see a problem with doing 10 feet from the curb. I mean, that takes care of most of the,
I think
right
that
of way.
would be a good thing to do for the signage setback.
yeah,
If for no other reason, it simplifies it for the average person.
yeah, exactly, because they don't know
More
their right of way.
enforceable, too.
And it's very visual, very easy to see.
Much more enforceable. Yeah.
Okay, so,
I just wanted to stick my oar in the water and say I agree with that because having been in planning for a long time, the vast majority of people do not know that their property line is not at the street. And I just had my property surveyed, double checked because I wanted to put up a garage. I've got 16 foot on my house on 4th Avenue that is city right of way. So if you're assuming it's 10 feet from most places, it may not be. So the 10 foot from the curb, to me, is much more enforceable because any person can take a
Tape
tape
measure.
measure and tape it back.
Yep.
That's when policies work.
So do we want to do the same with feather?
well, hold on, if you wouldn't mind. So I believe we just decided that any setback is going to be from the curb instead of the property line. So that takes us back to the beginning of the ordinance where we're,
Well, I'm talking about I'm talking about
It
the
does.
non-permanent,
It
though.
takes it, I mean, it applies, I think that should apply throughout.
throughout, okay.
Yes.
So anywhere where there's setbacks.
Sorry.
Are you talking about for permanent signs, too?
Both permanent and non-permanent signs.
Ooh, that
Then they,
That we'd have to verify, because we're talking about putting a permanent sign in the right-of-way.
yeah, right.
Okay,
I
that's true.
don't know about that. So I think for temporary, you can easily take them out.
Yep, yep.
That's
Okay.
the benefit. That's like a car, you can drive it off very easily.
I think you make a very
Where do you
good,
park?
because if you
I
put,
park down the road.
a 100 square foot sign up and it's permanent and
Yeah.
it's on the right of way, yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't.
you don't want that.
So that takes us back to the beginning section.
Leave the earlier part where it is and make this only a non-permanent
Yep,
application.
okay.
So are we putting that, I'm sorry, but are we putting that under the general regulations location for the non-permanent sign under 14708?
I think so.
No, where?
Oh, no?
The permanent sign under general regulations, permanent signs are gonna be from the property line. And we're
Right.
gonna add the word permanent up there.
Right,
And then regarding the non-permanent, then we will do
that's where I'm at,
property,
15708.
property line,
Are-
general regulations.
I mean, are you going to add it up under the general regulations for location, item B? Or is it going to be for, just specific, like to the feather sign, the, flag sign and the banner sign for the ones that are ground mounted?
I was gonna remove the word banner from the exception under general regulations.
Okay.
And then regarding the other ones, I'm waiting for direction still.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd want the same for the feather, and the flag, right?
Yep, 10 feet, already, from the, instead of property lines, can be from the curb.
Yeah, from the curb.
Yep. I agree. Excuse me.
And of course, if you say curb and it's a road that doesn't have a curb, then you have a whole separate issue.
Or edge of the street.
Edge of street or edge of pavement.
However we worded it in the parking code.
Yeah.
That's a good clarification.
Also, while we're discussing, and you mentioned the banner sign going across the road, should we just change A to not allowed? Because if we're not gonna, I mean, it doesn't sound like they want them going across the road, period. So why don't we just change that up there and says not allowed instead of, extend across the road by permission and body, government, and all the other stuff? Just, it's not allowed.
You could have it on posts or something though, right?
You
Well, you
could,
gotta go across the street, I mean, light posts is.
You could do it
probably
from
more
trees.
sturdy Than any other post they could put in.
I don't know, trees are pretty sturdy. I mean, what if somebody did want to put one up in a neighborhood and just connect two trees? I mean, I don't know that we,
Ask Patrick about how
we
permanent
could.
trees are.
How permanent trees.
That's right.
Oh, Dutch elm.
He had a tree go through his house.
They're not as nearly as permanent as people think they are.
I know. Well, I know they're not permanent, but neither are light poles, obviously. I mean, we could get rid of it. I'm just thinking, what if somebody actually does want to do it?
It would be nice to allow it.
Maybe we discourage it.
I mean, it's going across the street where anything can happen.
Well, since it needs permission, I don't see the need to remove it.
Right.
I think it should be gone. Just keep the stuff across the street. Another.
What was the consensus? I missed it.
There is none.
Got it.
They have to do a vote.
Yeah. Is this voting?
I mean, it doesn't matter that much to me if we remove it or not. I'm just thinking there might be somebody who wants to do it, or maybe something will come up that doesn't involve a light pole.
What happens if,
The idea of leaving it in there.
Yeah, I mean, if nobody uses it, fine, no harm, no foul.
just as a thought exercise though, what happens if it's strung up between two trees and strong winds come, break some branches, and it falls on a passing car or somebody walking underneath? Who's liable at that point?
That's why the electric
Yeah.
director recommends not.
If they don't recommend it, we should go with those.
Well, again, let's not assume we're using the electric pole or that it's that high above the street. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
all that high, but again,
Yeah, as we can see how how it's been this spring, how the winds have been going crazy the last few years. It's
Sure.
just something that,
but banners are pretty, the material itself is pretty flimsy. I don't know that, I mean, you can remove it if you want, I just don't think it's that
Unless,
big a deal.
in my opinion, unless the city decides that they want to do it, I think it could easily be a.
Yeah, and I don't know, you never know. I mean, and if they don't want it done because they don't want to give permission, you'd still have to get permission. So if the city is going to take the approach that we are never going to give permission for that, then don't even have it in there.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the route, is let's find out, would they ever give permission for that? The answer is no, take it out.
okay, I can go with that one.
Well, and it's not just Brian, because again, it could be something else. Could be strung up another way.
Well, it was brought up by Terry Furlong, and then proposed to Brian, who would be installing it, and Brian gave the validation that he had seen firsthand.
I agree with that. If the city doesn't want anything to do with it, then they can,
Well, then again, don't assume light poles. Some neighborhood wants to do it for National Night Out. There, use that example. Would we allow them to put something across the street? If the answer, if no, we would not want that, fine, then let's not have it.
If it's safe.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's written now, all we're doing is just leaving the door open. that
Yeah.
It can be done. We're not, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
It
we're
still
leaving-
has to be
if We're
approved.
leaving the door open, when there's no possibility of having it done, then the door shouldn't be left open.
Yeah, exactly. If there's no possibility, don't include it.
Yep. You guys had enough time, you don't wanna go, no, if it's not done, then don't do it. Okay,
So you can get that answer, somebody can get that answer for us if the city would never
yes, sir.
allow it.
question I would have on that is you're gonna have clearance issues. So there's not an awful lot of things out there I can think of, other than light poles or trees, that you could get, a 16 or 17-foot clearance below that sign, because
Yeah.
they're not gonna let you put anything lower than that, because you gotta make sure a truck can get underneath it.
Not if I close the street. Then I just have to have people to be able to walk under it.
Got a point there.
Again, I'm thinking like a neighborhood celebration of some kind.
It's for one day.
Yeah, an afternoon.
Could,
Signs are pretty expensive for one afternoon.
All right.
Well, again, I'm,
We'll just ask the city if
Yeah.
they want it, if they don't.
try to find out from,
Yeah.
get your best sense of that, like for a neighborhood celebration. Because again, the city would still need to give permission, even if the light pole weren't used.
All right.
So the last thing I had was on page 19. It's a really little thing. Item 6, right at the top of the page, freestanding. And then A and B both say if freestanding, you don't need the if freestanding. It's clearly freestanding. I think that was my last thing.
for,
I know we just copied and pasted that from somewhere else. Although I did have a question on, was one of the attorney recommended changes, did that have to do with the abandoned signs and how long they could be unused before they were considered abandoned? Because I noticed it
Yeah.
went from
believe that
180
was-
days to a year.
Yep.
Okay, I thought maybe so.
there's one other thing with the one that Elaine just mentioned. Item B refers to 10 feet from property line,
Yeah,
which should probably be 10 feet from street again.
yeah, that's,
One more place. where-
all of those under there
Yep.
are gonna
Yeah, I
be
didn't know
the,
if that one would be picked up.
and, Patrick, the one change we made last time, there's been a lot of time talking about, is under the window signs thing where we went from
Yes,
25% to 1/3.
that,
You-
yep.
Acceptable?
To me, certainly.
Perfect. Should it be more?
No.
Any other comments or questions?
On the
The only question I have is related in general to process. We are getting very close to finalizing this. So the next version, I'm thinking to myself, what I need to do with it is proof it. Go through it and look at the things we've been picking up all along, but I think it should be a little bit more careful look, because we should make sure of misspellings or this or that or the other thing. And so can we set the goal that this will be ready to go to council after the next meeting, planning commission meeting? Can we
Yes.
set that goal?
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding.
Just so we have a
End date?
target.
So
Yeah, I
June,
mean, a goal.
so June will be another revised draft, and in the interim, you'll be looking at it and submit any comments to me, or, hold on.
What,
Do you want the July draft to have a resolution, or do you want the June draft to have that resolution?
Oh, you mean a resolution for,
the council?
you talking about a public hearing, June or July? Because it's not just a resolution, this is,
A recommendation to council.
A recommendation to council in July.
I was thinking that the plan commission would approve a resolution to recommend to council. That's what I'm used to handling it, so apparently that's not how it's done here.
I know, but we're talking about a text change to the ordinance, which means there's a public hearing.
There would be definitely a public hearing.
That would be us.
Yeah, that's us.
Okay, so that would be July.
We do the public hearing. So are
We'll
we,
be ready for that in June.
I would like to do it in June myself. And if, I think we hit, at least for me, the stuff that I noticed, it's like, boy, this looks good.
Yeah, it's very.
It seems to flow. I think we've got most of the stuff covered. I don't imagine that anything that might come up in June is going to be major.
Would
I mean,
would it be reasonable to put it, I'm asking Brandy this, would it be reasonable that you would be able to distribute to us a final version, if you will, prior to that, so that we would have the time to look through it one last time and even give you feedback?
Yes. Let me answer you with a question to Lisa. So at the last meeting, I was under the impression that the Joint Plan Commission EDA meeting, they were going to discuss this topic. So has that packet gone out yet?
No, it goes up
Tomorrow.
but we weren't going to provide the whole ordinance.
were
We were
not.
going to have like a synopsis.
Okay,
of
so
the
I'll have the
key
synopsis to hand out on Tuesday. But yes, I could get the whole ordinance ready, and
How do you feel about how it's, where we're sitting right now? Do
I-
you feel like there's longer time needed, or do you feel like?
no, I think that it's pretty good. If you guys think it's feeling close to done, I think that we're getting close to done.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the level of detail that Elaine has provided in her review, and I'm looking forward to see what Patrick has as well. Because there's a lot of those little things that you just don't see anymore after you've been.
Over and it just kind of,
Well, and
Yeah.
every time you change it and it's in a new, this is gone and now this gotten slightly moved, then you read it just a little differently, and sometimes then you spot some other, but they tend to be very small things.
So we can have, I can get you a draft shortly. I need to familiarize myself with the public hearing process for this kind of thing, so I'm assuming it's, do you know, one public hearing for an ordinance amendment? I just need to verify that
Yeah.
before I make a promise.
It's just the one public hearing, yeah.
With Plan Commission?
You have to publish it.
Yeah,
put it in hands of
yeah,
So that they can bring their comments.
yeah.
Tribune.
Just has to be published, just like any other public
So a
hearing.
10-day
Yeah, the
notice,
10-day.
okay.
No notices to any particular residents, because it's citywide. It affects
Right,
all
but it needs to go into the
residents.
paper, so that would be June 6th then. We could shoot for June 6th public hearing. And then it would go to council, I would imagine, probably the second.
Does it get published to the website at that time?
It should.
So people can go to the website to
Well,
find it?
I don't think it actually, unfortunately, shows up on the website. I've been asking for that for a long time. But I think, trying to remember now if Carrie.
I could
put
work with
something
Carrie.
in the newsletter. I don't recall.
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're going to have a meeting with her shortly so that she can start.
Yeah, I can work with Carrie to get it out there.
Perfect.
you say newsletter, the one that comes with the utility bill you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the one that, and it's online.
Online, okay.
Yeah, we don't get a paper copy anymore, everything's electronic.
She could also put it on social media, or, if that's desired.
Yeah, on the on the Facebook and,
Yeah, Casey Lake sign.
yeah.
And
We're gonna have to stop and stay a long time to read all through this.
nothing changes, but just that there'll be a public hearing.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. And that would be one, since it
You
is
can have a lemonade
signed,
stand in front of your house, Lisa.
that would be one
Yeah,
to
just
make
be
sure
a watch
that
party, huh?
the packet is available on the website.
The draft document,
Yeah,
because the packet won't be available probably until close
Yeah.
to, right.
only because, if there's interest in it, it's just a complicated one to read.
Yeah, I think that,
There's so many types, and even we've been working with it, we get confused.
I will have, I'll figure out what she can do in terms of publishing it. Maybe she can make a temporary page or something, or like what's going on and.
Well, I don't actually have a problem if it's not separately published. I would just hope that the packet can get on the website that Friday, because then there's almost a week. So
Oh.
if she can let people know the packet will be available like she normally does, I think that's okay. I just would hate to see that packet be delayed, and not get it till like Monday or Tuesday. particularly for residents who've not had a chance to even see the, I mean, they could see the drafts if they looked at our minutes, but who's gonna? People don't
Publish
think
the
about
packet
doing
by
that.
the 29th, which is a Friday.
Yeah.
Is that right? No, I'm looking at the wrong month. 27th.
And then are you gonna be prepared, like, for just that synopsis type high points for the joint EDA?
Yes, I will be here. I only have about 20 or 30 minutes that I can spend because I gotta head out west. Sorry?
It shouldn't take long to do that.
Okay. And since we're not giving them the full draft, I've got a draft document that's kind of a side-by-side, but I think it needs a little bit more work and maybe some visuals to go along with it. So I'll have that to hand out, and then we can go through it on the big screen.
Because it is more just here's hitting the highlights of what we're changing, because primarily they're concerned with the downtown piece of it, and we did make some changes with the downtown one.
Streamlined.
Streamlined it for sure.
That meeting's on the 10th?
Yeah, next.
Tuesday.
whatever That is,
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday?
For us, the EDA?
yeah, the joint EDA.
Yep, that's 10th, they moved it to, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was fun.
I've got just two more oars I want to stick in the water, just to make sure they're covered.
All right,
Is this temporary sign ordinance, is there anything about enforcing the removal of the signs after the events are over? I've lived in some places where those signs stay up for weeks and months because it's easy to stick them out. It's not so easy to have people go back out and remove them once they've been stuck there.
political signs, of course, we have the dates on, but
Yeah, we didn't get into setting timeframes because that got, we talked about it, but that is extremely tricky to do when you can't do it by the message on the sign.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yep.
and the other thing is, and this isn't really an oddball one, but the abandoned sign section reminded me. I've lived in some communities where businesses have been gone for decades, but their sign is still in place and still maintained as usually like a touchstone because of the neighborhood. Is the abandoned sign written in such a way that if the city or a group wanted to maintain a sign for a business that was no longer there, that they could do that? Usually it tends to be things like restaurants that were around forever, or sometimes it's like in Dallas, I know they repainted the signs that were painted on the sides of buildings if the sign had been there for like more than 80 years as a touchstone to the past. And I would just hate to see something that says, I don't think it applies now, but it might apply down the road, that, your business goes, you've got to tear down the sign, even though there might be people out there that say, we're willing to keep Mac's Dinette sign up because it was here for 50 years and it's, a touchstone to the neighborhood kind of thing.
I don't think we touched on that at all.
No,
Okay.
I don't know
It
that.
is not written as such
No.
for abandoned signs.
I mean, we have, interestingly,
I know it's oddball, but I just wanted
no,
to
no,
point it out.
it's not. I mean, the Mac sign is actually still in existence. Yeah. It's in, yep. So, I mean, people who can do that, I mean, that has been done, that's been taken down. I mean, in many cases, like a sign building, if it's painted on the building or something, I mean, that's just gonna stay there probably till it fades away or till the new owner,
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
If there
takes
was-
over.
If there was a circumstance where there was, I can't imagine,
yeah.
in my mind, I'm not thinking of any signs like that, but, in this community. But if there was something like that, and I, as a property owner, really had a desire to keep it for historical reasons, I'd approach the planning commission and the council, and I'd say, hey, can we
Yeah.
have an exception for this, and here's why?
Yeah.
Or maybe it gets classified
Present a
as a
proposal.
mural.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
present a proposal and
Art.
Yeah.
address it reasonably.
And that would be the owner of the
Yeah.
property.
Right.
Okay, like I said, I just wanted to pitch that one out there, just because I've seen it in other places.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything in North St. Paul where it would apply, but on the other hand, I've only been up here 5 years, so I'm still discovering bits and pieces of the community I wasn't that.
Well,
familiar with.
I think about the Love's ice cream sign
Yeah.
because that was a Rexall drug sign.
Right, it was repurposed.
And it was repurposed, which I think is just a really cool thing.
Yeah,
In fact, I saw one just recently, the same Rexall drug sign in a little community that we drove through, and my wife said, hey, that's the same sign. You know, she was pointing it out to me that that's how they repurposed it.
Cool.
And thank you for.
I think we're done.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All righty, let's go on to staff reports. Anything? Nothing.
I guess I could give you an update on the redevelopment plan process. So Lisa and I are going to talk to Carrie tomorrow about the rollout. But as far as next steps, so we have a full draft that's been provided to the task force for them to look at. We're going to go to, I think you are the next step on the process rollout. So we'll come here on the 2nd. It's going to be a long meeting of June, yep. And then we'll take it to the Business Association on the 4th and the EDA that day too. And, I'm sorry, the 14th, June 14th is Tuesday. And then from there, it will go to City Council during a workshop for the general public to come in and check it out. And then it'll, from there, come back to council for final review and hopefully adoption.
So that should be last meeting in June or sometime in July?
Probably more like July, yep. So now that I'm mentioning it, though, because it's available, should we provide it to this body so they have time? Because I think of all of the committees, you'll probably want to see it, and so will the EDA in advance. So that in advance of June 2nd, instead of waiting for that packet. Well, I guess we could talk to,
It's going to be presented to everybody else?
yep.
Oh, that would be great.
I mean, I won't have a PowerPoint right away, but the document's ready to look at. The images are a little fuzzy at the moment because of the way the program that they use to create the document is, it makes the file like 300 megabytes or something just ridiculous to deal with. So until she's done with that, she can't compress it down. But once it's finalized, we'll get it to a smaller.
Well, I think if we can get it any time before the normal packet, that's helpful.
Yep, we'll figure out a way to get that to you. That is all I have. Oh, wait, no, I do have another thing. I was at the city council meeting on Tuesday to discuss the fence. So the liquor ordinance has a 6-foot fence requirement for anybody that wants to, have an outdoor patio on their private property. And they are looking at amending that ordinance to make it a little bit more flexible for businesses. And so that'll be coming to them in the near future. But that will affect the downtown.
All right. You're up, Lisa.
Which one?
Household.
Okay. Let's see. Well, council approved Cameron's role here with us at the commission this last Tuesday, so he'll be joining us as soon as he's able. Let's see. We've got a date for the grand opening for Max. It's
Ooh.
June 24th.
Nice.
What day of
June
the week is
24th.
that?
Ooh.
Friday night.
Friday night. Ooh, it's gonna be a
Start off.
It's gonna be a riot. Okay.
We're actually celebrating 2 Fridays consecutively, so.
Well, is the grand
Appropriate, I
opening
think.
in the evening, or is it in
For the car
the
show
midday, or do you know?
I didn't catch the time yet, but probably the evening is my guess.
That's what my
I think it's gonna be kind of like a party.
That'll be standing room only, for sure.
Yeah. They're gonna
Yeah.
they have a great outdoor patio too, so they're really looking forward to setting that up as well. It's huge.
Is that outdoor patio then the back area of the apartment building, or is that just for residents?
It's on the side and the back mostly.
'Cause I do notice when I cross over there, there's grills and there's like a patio for the area. I wasn't sure if that was part of the diner or if it's just the
I
residents.
I think that's more for the residents, but there's a little bit of space just outside of the building, so. And then another business is having their grand opening. It's the Fallen Angel Tattoo Shop down here on 7th Street. Okay.
Okay.
Yep,
Line 'em
they're
up.
having a grand
Let's all get-
opening.
Let's all get planning commission tattoos.
3 to 10.
Do it. Born for
No
paperwork.
tattoos here, okay. Yeah, so we did discuss a lot of the patio and outdoor seating, and as Brandy had mentioned, we definitely were looking a lot at the fencing concerns that people had, and, you know, I think we're just looking at what is the best option, either maybe a lower fence or none at all, so just it needs to be distinguishable.
It has to be demarcated in some.
Yep, for safety, and it could be, you know, maybe even a deck, you know, and that looks different enough
When
for,
you're not doing a permanent fence, requiring fencing is overkill,
yeah, it certainly can be.
my opinion.
And then the park improvement plan was approved by council this last Tuesday as well, and there are just two other areas that they're looking at to distinguish in the future, which is the Ecological Center and the Environmental Learning Center. So there's some confusion about that designation and who owns it and et cetera. So that's gonna be the work of the Parks and Rec, I think, coming here when they have time. Ariel Street, we're doing a project there with the city of Maplewood, and we will be getting sidewalks there. That was voted on. And let's see,
Is that between like 17th and 11th?
it'll go past 11th, I believe. I think we approved it till 9th because there's apartments beyond the 11th, and they're oftentimes used pretty heavily for the bike, or for the bus route and Cubs right there, so it makes a lot of sense in that regard.
Is that going to be one of those where it's street level, just kind of adjacent to the street, the sidewalk piece, or is it a typical sidewalk? Or is it like what we did
think
at
it's gonna
19th? Do you
be-
know?
I think it might be similar to the lake,
Okay, okay.
but I have to double check it. I don't think it's a traditional,
Okay.
you know, but I think it's cement still.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm just happy that,
Raised up a little lip there. That was the big thing between.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
It's okay, it's just good to see one going in.
And then maybe this is of interest to you all, but the Arts and Culture Commission has been really busy. And speaking of, you know, some of the banners downtown, we have some banners drafted and ready to go and looks really great. Thank you, Lisa Ritchie, for putting that together. The EDA is working a little bit with the, well, at least Council Member Cole and the Parks and Rec about some green space in downtown. So that is something that they're exploring, particularly between Sidewinders and the new tattoo shop. And then there's a mural. They're looking at a mural on the side of Love. So they've been in contact with an artist and requested a different mural, and so they're going to explore that as well. And then the EDA had suggested that the council approve a developer, and which we have for the Lilly Building. So we're going to be looking at a building that's a little bit more on the historical side instead in terms of design. Ground level will be retail, and then I think it'll be at about 4 stories, I think, so.
Awesome.
Is it the local? The developer?
The developers, I think most of them are in the cities here, but I think their equity comes from elsewhere.
Okay, so 'cause there's one guy who was local on the building next to it that was looking at it, so.
Yeah. There was another developer that came, yep.
Are they raising it then?
Raising,
So they'll demolish it and build a brand new building?
yep, that's what, yeah.
That's an old cinder block
Yeah.
building, so there's no historical.
Well, she did say historic, so I just was wondering.
Yeah,
Like, kind of like the
New one, they're gonna make
look,
it look
you know,
better.
I don't know.
yeah.
It's not my forte, sorry. But I think that's just about all the announcements that I have. Thanks.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, shoot.
And it really has to do with the Loves mural. Because I know that, they have wanted to do something for quite some time. But that what is now currently kind of used for parking is potential for development. So how long-lasting is the possibility that a mural would even be visible if somebody were to buy the adjacent property and just stick a building there? I guess it was one of those things that occurred to me. I thought, boy, that'd be a
bummer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point, and I can certainly have, the chair have that conversation so they're aware. Because it's not cheap. It's like a
Well, and it does make me
couple
wonder,
dozen
again, this is
grand.
just me, that if you're looking for green space or open space, additional, just passive space downtown, maybe that's an option. And then you've got a mural there, which is, a nice thing. It was just one of those things that popped into my head.
Isn't Love's on a corner?
It's in between.
No.
Parking lot tattoo.
Yep.
But I think.
And there's a parking spot.
Is part of
area.
that.
No, it's signed wide, it's between.
Oh, that's right, Sidewinders. Well, there's two of them.
And then Love's is down on Charles.
Further.
isn't it?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I was
Down
thinking
on
Sidewinder.
Does,
So,
So the area they're looking at developing is between Sidewinders and the tattoo shop.
Okay,
So they're not discussing anything next to Love's.
okay.
yeah, that makes sense, yep.
Yeah, so it's
Well, that's good.
It's gonna go on the Sidewinders building then.
No,
No, Love's?
Loves wants it, yeah.
The park will go by Sideway.
Okay, that's where I'm getting the two, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Glad that's clear. Thank you.
okay.
I have a question as well.
Shoot.
I see the I don't know what to call them now, the tanks or elevators at the Shifty site have gone in. And I'm wondering if there's any progress on a mural or any kind of discussions about where that's, what the design might be.
We haven't yet had that discussion yet, but certainly it's something that, we'll be approaching as a commission, but our plate is a little full at the moment, I think. But I think it's certainly within, next few years.
Thank you.
As I remember, they were going to consider it. That was the condition, is that they would consider it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna actually need to get on the agenda of a commission. I don't know, is it the art commission? Is it planning commission? Where do you think it starts?
For the Shifsky thing?
Yes.
Oh, I think that's probably arts and
Yeah.
culture. We're not in the design, mural
Okay.
business.
That's our side business.
And then it's up to the council to uphold the condition of the conditional use permit. I mean, if it becomes an issue where they're not, well, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see.
I mean, it was work with the city was, I think, kind of how we worded it.
Handshake agreement.
Yeah.
Well, you consider it. I mean,
Yep.
it wasn't saying, yes,
Correct.
we will do this. They
Yep.
would consider it.
Well, yes, yeah, it wasn't yes, you must.
Right. Yeah, but I think, the nice part about it is if, maybe we can't do it right now, but once we have some other forms of art, maybe that'll be an encouragement to add on, so.
Oh, I had one other question. Sorry, I had one other question, and that's because I read the newsletter, and it was about the craft wagon. Are there plans to visit as many different parks as possible? I know we tend to do these things at the parks that,
busy.
we always use, but yet we've got other neighborhood parks that have nothing going on. And, to bring people and familiarize them with their neighborhood parks. So I just wondered if that's a part of like the craft wagon plan.
Yeah, I'll pitch that to Lisa Ritchie for sure.
Kind of taking charge of that with the Arts Commission. So my plan is I'm going to host 3 events at Casey Lake, and we're coordinating that with Music in the Park because that's a family-oriented event. And then we're having it at 2 car shows. And then we are also going to do at this point, because we didn't, it's gonna be volunteer run for the parks. So at this point, we're scheduling 2 parks. The location is not known. We know it's gonna be the 4th week. Actually, so was it, we have eight total, so it was 2 or 3 in the summer. It would be different parks, and we do have 1 volunteer that has signed up. And that actually, the registration just went out this week. So if we get more volunteers, we'll certainly be able to bring it to more parks.
Well, I think, it's just my suggestion that when we have something like that, and it's not huge scale, you know, it's just kind of ideally suited
That is.
for a smaller park, smaller gathering, and in a place where people can just walk to it
Yep.
and not have to drive somewhere
Yeah,
to.
we just need to make sure that we have.
I understand, I'm just saying, to keep that in mind, particularly as the various art stuff. It kind of reminds me of Art in the Street, you know, that used to be part of,
The Arts Commission,
which one was that? Which
Arts Commission.
festival was that? I can't
Oh.
remember.
all roundup.
Fall Roundup, yeah.
I'll move to the commissioners. Commissioners, Andrew, anything, my friend?
I just will bring up the Hillcrest redevelopment again, and the urban design committee is getting close to the end of their work, and so now there are going to be a few other committees that they're going to start, and this is all through the St. Paul Port Authority. So I just would want to put out to North St. Paul residents that they should get involved in this as well too, so that our voice is heard, even though it's not in North St. Paul, it's very close to us. So it's a good thing to volunteer for, and you do actually get a small stipend to do it as well too. So the next one coming up, I believe, is on housing, and that's starting in June. So anyone that's interested should check it out on the St. Paul Port Authority website.
Great, thank you. Rick?
The twice postponed cleanup at Silver Lake is occurring this Saturday, I can say pretty confidently.
Yeah, looks good.
Decent weather.
Yeah.
So if you have time to come out, please do.
Thank you.
We plan to do our usual spring cleanup in the water. My wife and I. We started doing it last week. And it started raining and thundering and lightning while we were out on the water. And we said, okay, we have to stop. Next time, right?
Wayne, anything? Yeah.
Just if you didn't notice any, as you drove here, it is garage sale weekend, just as the FYI, and hopefully it will be better weather than Saturday's cleanup morning, so to speak. Whoa. Saw Lisa there with her umbrella. Nope, didn't have anything else.
Okay. Patrick? Anything, bud? All right.
Just, I'll give a kudos to the Public Works and the Police Department. I saw Lisa at the garbage pickup too, and that was very well run and
Yeah,
very well
it was.
organized, so
Yeah.
kudos to that. And welcome to our new commissioner, Cameron.
Yeah.
Well, and they even opened early, probably purposely on Saturday, because I was there slightly, maybe 7:45 or something like that, and I was maybe the 5th person in line, and I got home before 8 o'clock. It was like, holy smoke. That was no time at all, but I think you wanted to, let's get them out of here so we can go.
We're ready, so if we're ready, we'll certainly open the doors.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was nice, it was nicely done.
Awesome. For myself, I was going by, one of the projects that we gave kudos, or gave a little variance to, was a house on the 19th, down there, 19th and Helen, the students are doing it. Boy, that house has really turned out nice. They're getting the siding on now, it really looks good. It's a nice looking home coming up, so it's definitely a good view of the neighborhood, to be able to see something like that going up in that spot.
I think it's smaller than originally planned, though, which is good.
It fits right in,
Yeah,
whatever
it
it is.
fits better
It has a double-car
sometimes.
garage, because that was the big thing for
Yeah.
it, so it looks
Yeah.
good. So that's one of the other things I just wanted to bring up.
Okay.
So on that note, I should mention that going forward, if people have recommendations for locations, or if they know of something that might be a possible student-built housing location, please forward that information on to City Hall. It's greatly appreciated.
Definitely, yeah, we're just kind of trying to scout out a couple more lots for next year, and they already need to know, so,
Next year and then.
Do they do
Yeah.
1 or 2 a year? or-
One.
1 year, okay. So, yeah, I don't know when the end date is for the one they're doing, but
Yeah.
it's looking good.
It's gonna wrap up here soon, I think, so.
Awesome.
I was wishing that they were kind of more into small developments, because we still have the Delaware and 17th property. And I
yeah.
often thought that
That'd
would
be
be a
about 4 years'
lovely
worth of-
little cottage,
That might be
you
a
know,
little bit too
development.
big for their,
Take
yeah.
all the years out, though.
Right.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have to buy land for,
could be split, or it could be a very small, you know, development of cottages or something, like we've talked about cottage development, but it's, it's a bigger scale than they typically do.
Yeah, and that's kind of where where the instructor kind of felt
Yeah.
like it was a little bit too much.
Yeah, yeah, I don't blame them, it's just one of those, dang,
every time I drive by there, I think that's a nice piece of property. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
I
there
know.
Pretty soon,
I know.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Well, if that's, anything else anybody want to bring up? Otherwise, I'm gonna bang that hammer. and we're gonna
Motion
be
to,
done.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let me hit it. Don't
I'll
worry.
second.
No, you can't yet.
Come on.
There's a second.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Go.
Opposed? So moved.
8
Good night.
what,
8:30.
25?
Wow.
Hey, we almost got sunlight out there.
That's
Hurry up.
actually 2 in a row we've